Welcome to Five Things, the show where we take brilliant, funny people and we ask them 5 things about whatever the hell I want, because for some reason they put me in charge. I'm your host, Kyah Green. Here at 5 Things, we like to stay on theme, and so before I introduce our guest for today, the lovely and talented Jillian Welsh, let's start. Let's start with the warm-up 5. Hit me with some more air horns. Yeah! Air horns for days. All right. Thing number 1. This show appears both in video and podcast form, so where there are visuals, I will do my very best to describe them. For instance, right now, you are looking at my face. I am a small, androgynous person with short hair and round glasses. Imagine like a scrappy young hero from a 90s children's movie, and now ignore him and picture his nerdy best friend that's entirely there for comedic relief. That's me. Number 2. In this week's news, Toronto is officially in lockdown, so take that seriously, please. Number 3, fun fact of the week. Did you know that octopuses do not, the octopus does not have 8 legs. In fact, it has 2 legs and 6 arms. Sounds like a technicality, but apparently it uses all 6 of those arms to eat stuff. The octopus is a cool animal. Look it up. It's a lot of cool stuff. Number 4. Stuff you should know. This is the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat. Look up their stories because they relate to yours in that we are on this land and they are protectors of that land. If you want to see some fantastic stories, there's one particular show that you should be checking out right now called Trickster. It's on CBC Gem. Do not miss it. And number 5, let's talk a little bit about my good friend, the incredibly talented Jillian Welsh. She, her, hers. She grew up in southwestern Ontario, only to land in Toronto. Jillian is a Dora-nominated actor. What? That's super impressive. And a cast member of Extravaganza Eleganza, there we go. Winner of a 2019 Canadian Comedy Award. Selected TV credits include Baroness von Sketch, Working Moms, Tall Boys, Odd Squad. Jillian's been all over the place. Jillian can also be heard on This American Life. What? CBC's Love Me and Risk. Please welcome to your screens, Jillian Welsh. Yay!
Hey!
Hello!
Oh, it's so nice to see you. Hi.
It's so nice to see you too. I miss you.
Oh, I miss you too. And also, I'm just like such a big fan of you. Also, first thing, such a big fan of you. Second thing, so glad I get to hear Connor Lowe's air horns. I mean, what a time.
Honestly, if there's one thing I've missed about live comedy, it's the air horns.
Yeah. 3, the octopussies, having 2 legs and 6 arms just like blew my mind.
Isn't that fascinating?
Whoa.
We assume if it doesn't have hands, it's a leg, but we're wrong. We're wrong about that.
Yeah, for sure. Like, are spiders chiming in about that? Like, are spiders all legs, or do they have some arms in there too?
You know what? Hadn't thought about it, but will be researching it after this point.
Nice.
I'd never considered that. And Here we are. How are you doing today, Jillian?
Good. I'm super good. Yeah. Some of my plants have new growth on them. So
that's fun.
When in lockdown, it gets real exciting when a buddy starts to shoot out a new leaf. So
yeah, because it's all green. It's greener than the other ones. That's what Steph always gets really excited about. She's like, look, this one's extra green.
And it's also like, oh, I'm keeping you alive. Good.
Yes. I did it. I didn't kill you.
You're happy. Okay.
I feel like plant care is the only circumstance in which not murdering someone is an achievement. You know? You're like, I did it.
I didn't murder you.
So we're going to dive right in. Are you ready to do these 5 things?
Oh, I'm so excited. Hit me with it.
Wonderful. All right, let's do it. Number 1. A multitude. I want air horns all the time for everything I ever do. Okay, so Jillian, you are an incredibly talented improviser and sketch comedian. You've been working with the Second City forever. You've been doing, you've just done a ton of stuff. I'm just gonna compliment. This is mostly me complimenting you.
I'm gonna try and sit here and take it.
Yeah, don't you dare deny it. This is my show. You have to take it. So one thing that I feel like you're fairly well known for is that you do amazing character work and you do a lot of physicality in that. And I was wondering, like, how is it that you approach characters, whether they're the characters you've sort of been doing on Instagram for fun during this quarantine, or whether it's sketch characters? Like, do you have an approach for that?
I know I should be like, yeah, no, I've got this method, but really
you don't need to.
They kind of just fall out of my brain. I think it started when I was a kid. I kind of like lived to make my brother laugh, and so it would just be like all these different voices I could come up with. I'm not sure where it comes from. Sometimes, yeah, my partner lives with a lot of different people. So I'm not sure how it got here, but it just kind of happens.
I live with someone who also ends up doing quite a lot of voices in a day. Do you ever does your partner ever kind of do who's this guy I'm talking to?
Pretty much. Or sometimes things will go along and she'll also chime in because we're both performers, and then it gets to a point in the day where it's like, have we spoken to each other really in our real voices?
Should we check in with Jillian?
Should we?
Naylor?
Yeah. It's like
there was.
Yeah.
Sorry, what were you gonna say?
Oh, I was gonna say there's a moment where it's like it's a lot of bits. Yeah.
Yes.
A lot of bits.
Yeah. I find that relatable. For those of you who are not in a partnership with a comedian, we're a lot. We're a lot, and when we team up, we are double a lot. I know for myself that Steph and I once spent an entire night playing cards and doing Italian accents for absolutely no reason that I can discover. Because that's what happens.
Oh, my partner and I have alter egos. I'm Gio, she's Lulu. I mean,
yep. So this is where it comes from. It comes from an organic place of just multitudes containing multitudes. That's wonderful. What's your favorite thing about doing characters?
Ooh.
Or do you have favorite characters that you're like, oh, this guy, let's bring this guy out?
I for sure have this grandmother character that I do that is loosely an impression of my actual grandmother. And she was one of the most incredible people. She was so inspiring, so like full of love, and just like really encouraged me and inspired me. So I love when I get to bust out my grandmother, because it's like I get to hear her voice and I think of how she would respond to things. So I have such love for that grandmother character.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. I feel like that's such a way to like love and honor someone, is to impersonate them.
Yeah, I also like writing sketches for that grandmother character too, of like how she would grapple with changes of, like, for example, me being gay, and just kind of hear all the things I want to hear in her voice. It's pretty sneaky.
Yeah, that's
pretty great.
That's satisfying, but hey, get it done any way you need to, you know?
Man. Yeah.
All right, sweet. Let's move on to thing number 2. So thing number 2, I was, this is starting with a personal story. I was recently sitting around and watching this little show, you might have heard of it, called Baroness von Sketch. And then I come across this episode in which I'm like, oh my God, that's Jillian on my screen in Baroness von Sketch. How was that? How was that experience?
Oh, it's like a dream come true. Yeah, I'm sure I should probably like play it super chill and cool and be like, yeah. No, but I was like, it was amazing to watch such like incredible professionals be able to like hit their marks and then improvise. Oh my gosh, they just like, it was like such fast and incredible improv. It's like we did the version of the script and then it was like, okay. And then it was just like, yeah, they're all so incredible. It was like sitting with masters being like, hold on to your butt.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because the dynamic of the scene, just for those of you who haven't seen this particular sketch, though you definitely should, it's excellent, is you sort of sitting opposite almost all 4 of them. I think 3 or 4 of them.
3 of them, yeah.
Which must have been like such a like tidal wave of comedic power.
For sure. I was trying to be like, just play this cool. Just play this cool. Yeah, it was amazing. I think obviously Carolyn Taylor is such like a huge queer icon. So, and I also have seen like their work through archive videos at Second City. So first and foremost, just to be like, hey, thank you for this job. But to just watch them in action was so inspiring. And Meredith McNeil, I mean, she's like wild and wiry the way I can be wild and wiry. So it's, and you don't often, I find in comedy for women who are weird and wiry, sometimes it's just not so common. So it's really beautiful to see Meredith just be so absurd and so weird. Like,
one of my favorite things about the show is watching those sketches where in my mind, the entire sketch is just like, Meredith is in this place. Let her go.
Yeah.
Let her run free.
Yeah, for sure. Will she wear clothes? Won't she wear clothes? Who knows?
Impossible to say.
Yeah. And Jennifer Whalen's brain is so fast. Like such a fast, like beautiful, beautiful brain. They're so funny. I've seen some of Jennifer Whalen's archive videos at Second City too. So it's like huge talent crushes sitting across from them. Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. Did you have trouble keeping a straight face at all?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, that's always a real struggle for me personally. So when people can like keep their shit together, I'm like, good work. That must have been difficult.
Yeah, I know. I laugh so much.
Which is a good thing, I feel.
Yeah, joy, man. Joy. Yeah.
Joy, man. Absolutely. Very cool. Awesome. Well, let's move on to thing number 3, which is kind of on the subject of talent crushes. I love asking people this, but obviously in quarantine, we've had tons of time to sort of sit around and like absorb all of the content there is out there. Who's been blowing your mind artistically these days? What's been like making you happy? Who's been like, whether people you know or just like stuff you're watching or reading or so on and so forth?
Misha Green, the writer and creator behind Lovecraft County. I don't know if you've been watching Lovecraft County.
I did.
That is so good. Yeah.
What a show.
It's absolutely incredible. Like the mix of like genre and also like talking about civil rights. Like it is so well written. You're on the edge of your seat. You have no idea what's going to happen. All the characters are so complex. You're so invested in them. It just really is. I love it so much. Yeah.
It had such like a deep mythic feel to it, but also so relevant. There's one scene, and I think it was like the first or second episode when they're trying to beat the sunset. My heart was in my throat the entire time.
Oh, yeah, for sure. It was, yeah. Just really incredible work. I'm also thinking I May Destroy You, which I am not pulling the artist's name out of my head, but that whole series, I May Destroy You, was also... I know I'm talking about serious things. We should probably talk about comedy.
Oh, no. Talk about whatever you want. All things are valid.
Ted Lasso, as far as comedy goes.
I've heard that's great.
It's such a feel-good comedy. It's like kind of the style of comedy that I really like. It's so positive, and just like built from so much love, and is so like genuinely funny. Like genuinely very funny.
See, that's an interesting point because so much comedy has the like making fun of each other or negative like put down feel or like bad people doing bad things.
Yeah.
But there is like a whole genre of comedy that's just like joyous friendship, love, loyalty, people doing their best.
Yeah. Ted Lasso's that. It's so beautiful. And then like privately, within our community, I have been loving watching The Oval on Bad Dog TV. Never Have I Ever, which is, oh man, Daphne Joseph is so funny. Just
my God.
So funny.
Daphne is hysterical.
Yeah, she's also like so unpredictable. In like the most beautiful way of like the things that come out, you don't expect what she's going to say, and it's funnier than you could ever imagine.
Yeah, just a true wild card, that one.
Yeah. And Tom Hearn has been making these like wild little characters that he's been putting up on Instagram, which has been so fun to watch as well.
Yeah, you and Tom Hearn worked together for Extravaganza, right?
Yeah. Tom was like the brain and the power behind the whole thing.
Which I remember that hearing that Carolyn Taylor was a big fan of that show.
Yeah, so cool.
Yeah, is that fun that you're like, yeah.
She
saw us.
So cool.
Yeah,
for sure.
That's awesome.
When we did that show, I was going through a breakup and my heart was smashed into smithereens. So I did actually get to meet Carolyn Taylor, but I just like, when your heart's smashed into smithereens, it was like, hi, nice to meet you. I'm dying inside.
Yes. Or you're like, hello, I'm numb. How are you?
Yeah.
Yeah. But hey, you got to meet her again, so that's pretty cool.
For sure, yeah.
Amazing. Very cool. Let's move on to question number 4. Yes. Keeping the air horns alive.
Nice.
Okay. So I like to ask random questions for fun discussions. Always been a thing I enjoy doing. So here's a random question coming at you. If you could go on a road trip, just like one of those Thelma and Louise style road trips, except maybe you don't drive off a cliff at the end. Spoilers, but like you should have seen it by now. If you could go on a road trip, who would be like your road trip buddy, the Thelma to your Louise, if you will?
Ooh.
What would your like ride be? Like your mount, your steed, the thing you drove or whatever. And where would you want to road trip to, or what area would you road trip through?
Man. Okay. Well, my partner obviously would be a great road trip sidekick.
I believe that.
Yeah. Or I would take my like longest best friend, Tamara Walker. She's just one of those people who is so down for such adventure. By day, she's very, very quiet, but she's just wild, And I know that she would be down for pretty much anything. I'd love to take a convertible because that just feels cool.
Yeah.
Oh, that's not that one.
that's a different one. But thank you, Connor. Connor has put up a profile for a Tamara Walker, but not the Tamara Walker in this case.
This Tamara Walker is like very like goes tree planting, like doesn't really have a cell phone. Yeah.
That's a good person to bring with you on a road trip, I feel.
Yeah, she's so like cool.
That's someone who can build a fire,
Oh, yeah.
Just in case.
Shelter, fire.
Because if this is a proper movie road trip, you're going off road at some point. You're going to run out of gas. You got to walk someplace.
That's true. She's also like mechanical, so I'm sure she could fix a car.
Yeah.
Like she's one of those people who's like a Swiss Army knife of a person. There's
yes,
nothing she can't do.
I love those people. Everybody should have one.
Yeah,
one of those.
You need your Swiss Army knife friend.
Yeah.
And I've always wanted to. I did a national tour in the United States where basically we just, these are all the Tamara Walkers. This is blowing my mind right now. None of them
are currently
look
oh my God. So for those of you listening to the podcast, Connor has pulled up just a host of Tamara Walkers.
Yeah.
None of them are accurate.
And one of them looks like if Kellyanne Conway and Barbie had a child.
Which to me sounds like a nightmare.
Yeah. It's a lot of plastic.
Yeah.
Anyway, I would drive probably from here, but on that national tour, we pretty much saw all of the United States, except for we didn't go through California and like down through New Mexico. Yeah, and like all the way down to the Baja coast. So like I would love to drive down there through like the red desert. Give me the red desert,
Give me some sand, make it red.
Yeah. Like
that's a cool spot.
And so like rattlesnake, like I don't want to meet any rattlesnakes, but like just the idea of like, and then there was a rattlesnake. If I could say that about some moment in my life would be cool and not refer to a person,
Yeah, of course. Yeah. I did encounter a rattlesnake once in Bruce Peninsula, so you could probably like go check one up there if you wanted to.
I've seen a Massasauga rattler. Is that what they're called? Massasauga
That's the
rattler?
one.
And
yeah.
I think, listen, correct me if I'm wrong. Connor can do a quick Google on this one, but I think that they actually have stopped producing the anti-venom for it. For the Massasauga rattler.
Okay, that's good to know.
Yeah, I think.
Sorry, go on.
That.
What were you saying?
No, I was going to say there was something about that where they like ran out of anti-venom or the... Are we all screwed? Very funny. Very funny.
That's dramatic. When we encountered one, we were going for like a hike in the woods, and my friend like literally stepped on one, but then caught himself. And then so we were on a path, and the rattler was between us, and two people were on one side, and the rest of us were on the other, and we're like, "What do we do?" So, being a bunch of city kids, get this, we Googled it like dummies.
Oh my gosh, that is such a funny scene. That is so funny.
Know.
You have to write this premise.
What do you do?
We're just like not being able to get signal too of like Google.
Yeah. Just like couldn't function without the internet to tell us what to do.
Listen, my go-to is like, if in doubt, get a big stick. Okay?
That was the answer.
A big stick.
That's literally what Google told us to do. It was like, get a big stick, hit the ground.
For most things in your life, like get a big stick. You know, landlord gonna evict you, get a big stick.
Big stick. I don't think that that's bad advice by any means. I mean, good for combat, good for climbing. Should the apocalypse arrive at a further point than it has, big sticks.
Yeah. Big stick ideology.
Isn't that a thing? Walk softly, carry a big stick.
Oh, that I don't know, but that makes a lot of sense.
I feel like it's a quote for something, but I can't say that something is something I support.
Theodore Roosevelt.
Oh, there we go.
Okay. All
America.
Right. Okay. Well, look at me plagiarizing with my thoughts. Great.
Speaking of America, I just want to dig into you toured across America. How was that? Did you have like spots that were the best, were the worst?
I was with an incredible group of people. Like we had so much fun together. I also like had a fake ID because I wasn't technically legal drinking age at the time. I was like 20. So me and my little fake ID. But America was really, really something. It's so different. Like just the landscape and the ideology behind different groups of people that live in America. Like it was, you've got Maine, which was like so beautiful and kind of like backwoodsy, felt like very Canadian woodsy. And then you've got Florida, which is just like alligators and barbed wire and then also this like retirement community and then these extremely wealthy people. And then you've got like Louisiana, which is basically people like living in a swamp, which is also so beautiful, like the history of it. And on tour, we were kind of super adventurous. So our company would always put us up in these hotels, but we realized it was kind of like Airbnb, but before Airbnb, so on Craigslist. And we would find different places to stay in kind of local communities. So like in Water Valley, Mississippi, we went and stayed in a dry county into this like historic mansion we rented out for like a night because it was so much cheaper compared to putting us all up in separate hotel rooms so we could stay in some pretty cool places. But that like dropped us into some really interesting small towns that we wouldn't have been in otherwise. I remember standing in a Piggly Wiggly, which are real places, blew my little Canadian mind that Piggly Wiggly is the real name of a real place.
I'm sorry. I might need some context. What?
Piggly Wigglies are like convenience stores. The Piggly Wiggly.
No way.
Yeah.
I feel like I have seen that on a TV show before.
Yeah. I've heard people reference it. I'm like, oh, that's from a nursery rhyme or something. Some pop culture reference. No,
oh my God.
It's a real place. But I was standing in the Piggly Wiggly and I was so paranoid. I was buying cigarettes at the time. Don't smoke. It's a filthy thing to do. I was young. I was wild. I was on tour. I Buying cigarettes.
Do as I say, not as I do.
Yeah. And we walked into the Piggly Wiggly and the whole place just turned. It was like all locals and they all turned and just looked at us. And then I had to use my ID and it was like, I was from Canada, which was like, then everyone needed to meet me. It was like,
oh my God,
beautiful, but also like, yeah, it was wild. There was also an element that really opened my eyes that I didn't realize how much segregation was still happening in the South at the time. This is probably about 10 years ago. I think we can look at the world and say, oh yeah, this was still happening. But yeah, there was definite like segregation, which, yeah, America, a wild, wild place.
Yeah, I think we underestimate how much of that still lives in the bones of the country for sure.
For sure.
I was going to follow up on that like the South kind of has a reputation for certain not being tough to travel as a queer person or as a person of color. Like I hope that it felt safe.
There certainly were times where it didn't. But that's I think that's like okay. There was a very flamboyant gay man on tour with us as well, and there were times certainly where we would stop to go into a gas station and be like, "Well, you and I are holding hands like we're a couple until we get in and we get out." But on the flip side, there's also we came across so many beautiful people at the same time. Like it really was a study in cultural anthropology, aside from doing a show that involved wearing gigantic frog feet. So yeah. We
I feel like I have to ask about that.
The show itself was we're taking like classical American tales. Yeah. So I forget what that was called. We did The Necklace by Guy de Maupassant. We did The Telltale Heart,
cool.
The Monkey's Paw.
Oh, yeah.
And I forget what the one was where we had to wear these big, gigantic frog feet. But it was a cool experience. We also rehearsed the show in Boston in an old Masonic temple.
What?
Yeah, and we decided to spend, we weren't supposed to, oh my gosh, don't tell anybody. I feel like I'm gonna get in trouble, but we decided to spend a night in the Masonic temple before we left out on tour to like really explore it. And it was,
oh my God.
Yeah, like there were like little secret passageways and they were like, oh, this is where they're storing costumes. But it was like, it was a wild thing.
That's hilarious because my immediate thought was secret passageways. Were there any?
Yeah, there legit was. And like, yeah, it was, it's interesting. Masons, man.
Wow. What a ride.
Yeah. And and we also bought a bunch of fireworks.
As you do.
We're illegal in a lot of places, but we were driving, like we had our van and then this like 26-foot transport truck that had like the whole set and everything in it. Which I was driving with a G1 license.
Oh.
Don't tell them.
Who would I tell?
But listen, it had to go through, like it counts. In America, G1 counts. I was on their insurance and everything. So hey, I didn't lie to anybody. But the fact that I was driving. You didn't crash it.
No. So here we go.
No, I'm a very good driver. I think. Anyway, but so we stored a bunch of fireworks and we didn't realize that was like super illegal to do when you're crossing state lines. But we were all super young. So it was just like so fun to go to a new city every single night and then drive somewhere and set off a bunch of fireworks and then take off. Yeah.
Wow.
It was wild.
Wow. What an adventure.
Yeah. And Memphis, one of the people on our tour, they had a cousin who lived in Memphis. This is my favorite story from the tour itself. And they knew where to find like the best music. So we met in this like alleyway that seemed like an absolutely nothing alleyway. And it was like, we probably met them there at like 1 a.m., maybe 1:30, closer to 2. And we went into this like room and inside was like an actual theater. Like how they had like almost like little private boxes in it, but it was like dingy. And we were sitting on these seats that had like duct tape on them. It was like old and worn in, and you could have whiskey with ice or without. That was the drink menu. It wasn't even specified what kind of whiskey it was.
Just what we got.
People were smoking cigars inside, but the band was the most incredible music I think I've ever heard in my entire life. At one point, the guitar player could actually like play the guitar with his mouth, which, it was the saxophone player. It was incredible. And we were in there listening to the best music, drinking some of the most powerful whiskey. It probably could have ran a lawnmower off of that whiskey.
Oh my God.
I know. And then we like left it, like came outside and it was like that, like it's 5 a.m. and we had to do a show at like 10 a.m.
Oh God.
Yeah, it was a rough show that day. But it was,
oh my gosh,
it was the most incredible wild adventure. And you also got to see like all of these old theaters all across America, like the old Broadway houses too, and hear their haunted stories. Yeah, it's awesome.
Oh yeah, they all have haunted stories, right?
Forever. Sorry, I'm going so long on this.
No, not at all. This is amazing. I am absolutely delighted by this turn of events.
Yeah, it was really beautiful. I still keep in touch with most of the people too, which is so nice.
Well, yeah, that's a kind of adventure that like kind of keeps you in someone's life forever.
Yeah, we really, it was like that perfect moment when you're still so young, and you're so hungry for the world and you don't have really any inhibitions to hold you back. And just being in a new city every night meant that you had the energy to go out and just fully explore it and ask people about it too. Like, going to secret bars and places. There was this one bar that we went to that we had to learn like a series of passcodes, like a speakeasy where we had to go underground. It was just...
Oh, like the opposite of an escape room.
Yeah. Oh, and this is so embarrassing though, because I'm still like maximum Canadian here. I am like maximum small town guy. So we're in Tampa Bay, Florida. And this is my first time I've like seen the ocean on this tour, which was like a huge deal for me. I was so excited. I always wanted to see the ocean. And then I'm like, I think Tampa Bay's in like the Gulf of Mexico, which is so beautiful. And we go swimming, and I'm a little bit nervous about the ocean because I've just like encountered jellyfish, and my only reference was like, you got to pee on somebody's leg for jellyfish. So
the Friends episode.
Yeah. That's all I knew of it. And I don't even think I saw the Friends episode. I think it was like secondhand information from like a babysitter or something.
Right. Yeah.
And I also seen Jaws. So this is what I know of the ocean.
Of course.
So we go out and I'm like up to my knees. And then all of a sudden I see this like fin come up and it like swims around and then goes back under the water. And I'm like,
oh no.
Okay, whoa. Chill out here, and I watch and the fin comes up again, it circles and it goes back out of the water. So I like grab my tour mates because I don't want anything to happen with them, and I start screaming. I'm like, shark, there's a shark, everybody get out of the water. And I'm like running and I'm splashing and I'm kicking up dirt and I'm like, everybody get out of the water. I get out and I'm like breathing and panting, and this old couple are sitting on their beach lawn chairs, and one guy literally falls out of his lawn chair. He is laughing at me so hard. It was just a freaking dolphin, but I could not tell the difference. And like people I don't know are laughing at me. It was like, and then my friend on tour was like, I'm sorry, she's from Canada. Man.
That's incredible.
Yeah. Living and learning,
Well, I mean, when you really think it through, you could have played it safe and said, I'm just going to play it cool and not say anything about the fin. And then it could have been a shark. And then you would have had that on your conscience forever.
Yeah. I'm not an octopus, okay? I don't have any I guess they have arms. I don't have any arms to spare,
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. We have too few arms.
Yeah, for sure.
I think you made the right choice.
Thanks.
I support you in this.
Certainly made that old man's day. He was real happy that he got to witness that.
Oh my God, I bet. I feel like I could ask you about this forever, but we are eventually going to run out of time, so we should probably move on to...
Yeah.
No, not at all.
For sure.
Please. I have enjoyed this thoroughly. But we are going to move on to question number 5, which actually kind of links right in that you also, aside from being a comedian and an actor and working in theater, you also write and tell your own stories, right?
Oh, yeah.
You're in the storytelling world, which is a little bit different than the sort of stand-up and comedy world. What got you into that? What like where do you pull stories from? Like how? What? I'm so curious.
Okay. Well, first and foremost, I was working at this bar called the Free Times Cafe here in Toronto, which is also
love
how
that
I
place.
That's how I ended up in comedy too, but it's also how I ended up in storytelling. So, Graham Isidore, who is an incredible writer, follow him on Twitter if you just want. He writes for a bunch of different publications. So if you want really cool, great, like Vice style articles that are very funny and poignant, do give him a follow. But he was just talking to me at the bar, and I was kind of like, who is this guy chatting me up? And at the same time, I was doing this really important gag where I was hiding rubber chickens all around the restaurant.
Important.
Yeah, to make them squawk. And the whole rule of the game is if you heard a squawking chicken, you had to find the chicken and then hide the chicken. Anyway, so I was really working on hiding these chickens, and he just kept asking me a bunch of questions. So I told him to shut up and hold my cock, as it were, and I handed him a rubber chicken. And then he immediately was like, can you please, I do a storytelling show. Can you please just come tell a story at the storytelling show? And I was like, sure, whatever. And the first story I ever told is actually the one that ended up on This American Life. So you tell a story. Yeah, you tell a story in a bar once, and you just, who knows where it goes. Yeah, so that's how I ended up in that. But at the time, I had quit acting altogether. I was going to university for a year. Basically, when I was in New York, I did like this national tour. I was really lucky after I graduated. I just kept getting hired. And then I ran into that one thing that happens to all actors, where all of a sudden you audition for a bunch of things and you don't get a part. But it was the first time that had ever happened to me. And I was without a visa. So I had to move back to Canada. But I had a big depression and breakdown about it of like, I'm not any good. So I quit. Worked at Free Times. People asked me to do things. Storytelling's also how I found my way back and realized that I could actually write things. And so I kept doing storytelling nights, and where the stories come from, sometimes there would be a theme, but it would kind of be like bigger questions that I sort of had inside myself, or a piece of shame that I could find. Becoming who you are is kind of like, it's a bit of growth, but for me, it's also kind of been a bit of like revealing, kind of like a pulling back the layers and being okay with what's below. And storytelling has kind of been a part of that, finding a piece of me that makes me feel a little bit alone in this world, exploring it, making it funny, making sure I'm still maintaining the level of truth to it, and then putting it out there and see what happens.
Wow.
Yeah.
That was an incredible answer to my incredibly vague question. Wow. That was amazing. Do you still,
I don't remember what I said.
No, that was beautiful. Do you still sort of do storytelling in some capacity now in the pandemic?
Do. So I started working on a new one-person show, which is my last experience with a one-person show was really intense. It was very intense, and it kind of threw me off my game for a little bit. I'm probably being super vague. I wrote a show that was really honest and talked a lot about sexual assault. I'm not going to go into any details, and also no emotional labor for anybody who's listening. I am A-okay with everything. I make art with what I'm okay with. But what ended up happening is some family members who I'm estranged with showed up, made a big kerfuffle about it. And that was when I had to grapple with how powerful words can be. So even though I was telling my own perspective and my own stories, I think I lacked the wherewithal to know that this could have ramifications or repercussions for people who I'm talking about. Even if their behavior was bad, and even if I was exploring it through a lens of shining light on what makes people feel alone, I didn't see the other side of the pendulum of the repercussions.
Right.
So that certainly had consequences, particularly for me as an artist. And so I kind of take some time to like sit and learn from that experience. So now it's time to like hop back on the horse and put together a new one-person show. And have the story that is on This American Life is about getting caught having period sex with bloody sheets, and the NYPD is involved in this one, which is a very
oh my God.
beautiful coming of age, sort of like being okay with your body and who you are. It is a heteronormative story. And when it came out, I was just in the process of coming out of the closet. Because I've been with women for my whole life since high school. Sorry, small town high schoolers. Don't mean to out you, but you exist. I was
as long
there.
As you're not naming names.
I'm not naming names. I would never do that.
But you can describe beds.
And they wear plush. And I also had another story that dealt with sexual assault. And at the same time, I had this beautiful story that I hadn't started telling people until probably about a year and a half, about kind of a beautiful crush and a first kiss with a girl, and then a bit of homophobia that stuffed me back in the closet. And these three stories are so different from what we imagine a young woman's sexuality to be. We kind of either think either you're a lesbian or a slut or you're a prude, but you can't be all three of those things at the same time. And yet I was. So that's what this next show is about.
Yep. Multitudes.
Multitudes, man. Multitudes.
Honestly, that sounds incredible. I am very excited for when that sees the light of day, and we can join in that with you. But like, oh man, if this interview is any indication, you are clearly an excellent storyteller.
Oh, thank you. I feel like you asked me a question. I'm like, well, here's this windy tale.
As someone who has interviewed a couple people now, that is a dream come true. We love that.
Okay. It's a half-hour show, and here's Jill at an hour and a half. Like,
yeah, I apologize, Connor, but there's no way I was cutting that off. So we should unfortunately come to the end of the show. I feel like I could do this for another hour easy. Oh, so I guess if you are enjoying this, you should be following Jillian and her various pursuits. Jillian, where can people find you on the interwebs or I don't know, in life?
Come find me on Instagram. In life right now, we're keeping some distance. We're on lockdown, but please find me on Instagram. I try to make funny videos that'll make you smile.
Does a great Lin-Manuel Miranda.
Thank you. Sometimes I try Twitter, but Twitter, it's you can follow me there. I might not give you much. Yeah.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for coming to join us today and telling us such incredible stories. If you ever run into Jillian at a party, now you know that she is one to chat with.
Oh, please come say hi.
Yes. It has been so lovely catching up. Jillian Welsh, everybody. Thank you so much to our tech, Connor Lowe, and the other people that make this possible, Coko, Galore, Sonar Network, and Bad Dog Theater. Please check out all of the other shows on baddogtheater.com. As Jillian mentioned, The Oval is one of them that's just incredible. There's lots of different shows almost every night of the week, so please do come check them out, and maybe you'll see Jillian again. So make sure to subscribe, follow, and donate to baddogtheater.com/5things because your donations are how we keep bringing shows like this to your screen. So thank you so much, and support us if you can so we can keep making delightful nonsense. I'm Kyah Green. This has been Jillian Welsh. Stay safe, friends.
Bye.
Bye.